Conjugates and dividing complex numbers. We have already learned that complex numbers have both a real part and an imaginary part. The imaginary part has the I attached to it. The conjugate of a number is when one switches the sign of the imaginary part. So if it is previously negative, then it becomes positive, and if it was previously positive, it becomes negative. And you just change the sign of the imaginary part of the complex number. So let's do some examples here of just finding the conjugate. Alright, for this first one, we have negative 9i. That's like saying 0 minus 9i, which means that the real part is the 0, and the imaginary part is the 9i. So I'm going to switch the sign of the imaginary part, so it's just going to become a positive 9i, or just 9i. And the next one, we have 5 plus 20i, so then there's your real part and your imaginary part. So we need to switch the sign of the imaginary part, so that would make it 5 minus 20i, and that's it. In these next two examples, we're going to divide by complex numbers. To divide by a complex number, we need to multiply by the conjugate, both the numerator and the denominator. So I'm going to multiply by the conjugate, which is 4 minus 3i. The numerator and the denominator by the same thing, so we don't actually change anything. And then I just multiply the way I have before. So I distribute the numerator, giving me 28 minus 21i over 4 times 4 is 16. 4 minus 3 times negative 3i is a negative 12i. 3i times 4 is plus 12i. And 3 times negative 3 is negative 9i squared. And then I simplify. So my 12i's cancel out, leaving me with 28 minus 21i over 16 minus 9 times negative 1, which is 28 minus 21i over 16 plus 9. 16 plus 9 is 25, so my final answer is over 25, and I see that I have a commonality in my numerator, 28 and 21. 7 goes into both those, so I can factor out a 7, leaving me with 4 minus 3i. So my simplified answer is 7 times 4 minus 3i divided by 25. And one more. Next one here, we have 3 divided by 6 plus 5i. So again, we're going to multiply by the conjugate of the denominator, 6 minus 5i. Okay, and then I would have 3 times 6 is 18 minus 3 times negative 5 is negative 15. I over 6 times 6 is 36 minus 30i plus 30i minus 25i squared. And then I simplify, so that's going to factor out a 3 out of the numerator, giving me 6 minus 5i divided by cancel out my 30i's, and then I have 36 minus 25 times negative 1, which makes it a positive 25, for a simplified answer of 6 minus 5i over 36 plus 25, 61. So that's your final answer. Those are your notes over conjugates and dividing complex numbers. Go through the practice problems. Make sure that you can do these. The division is usually a little more difficult. Make sure you multiply both the numerator and the denominator. And once you do the practice problems, you should prepare for your quiz.